Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdung FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdung monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time. Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdung FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdung monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time. Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdung FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdung monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Selamat pagi dan selamat datang pada acara Expert Lab Bulan Fintech Nasional 2021 dengan topik Readiness for an Ultra Micro SME Finance Ecosystem Financial Branding. Perkenalkan, saya Dinda Bianca dari Sekretariat Asosiasi Fintech Indonesia atau AFTEK yang akan memandu acara pada pagi hari ini. Pertama-tama, saya akan menyapa para pembicara dan moderator yang saya hormati, Bapak Maskum selaku Advisor Grup Inovasi Keuangan Digital Otoritas Jasa Keuangan atau GIK DOJK, Mr. Jack Elma as a President Director Tongdung Indonesia and Co-Founder Tongdung Group, Bapak Muhammad Gifari selaku Division Head of Digital Banking Development and Operation Division Bank Rakyat Indonesia dan Ketua Bidang Teknologi Operation and Regulatory Report dari Perbanas, Bapak Teguh Wahyono selaku Pegadaian IT Director, Bapak Alitan selaku Co-Founder dan CTO dari Kredivo, serta Mr. Kui Yonglok selaku VP Asian of Tongdung. Terima kasih kepada Bapak, Ibu, dan rekan-rekan yang telah hadir pada acara hari ini. Dan tidak lupa kami ucapkan terima kasih juga kepada Tong Dun yang telah mendukung acara hari ini. Bapak, Ibu, dan rekan-rekan silahkan mengisi daftar hadir yang sudah kami sediakan linknya di kolom chat. Bapak, Ibu akan memiliki kesempatan untuk mendapatkan door prize yang akan diundi pada akhir bulan Fintech Nasional 2021. Sebelum memulai acara hari ini, izinkan saya ingin menyampaikan beberapa tata tertib webinar. Yang pertama, pastikan sinyal internet Bapak dan Ibu dalam kondisi terbaik, gunakan PC atau laptop untuk mendapatkan tampilan terbaik, gunakan headset atau earphone bila perlu agar suara narasumber dapat terdengar dengan jelas. Untuk kenyamanan bersama selama acara berlangsung, host akan mengatur mode mute atau sunyi pada suara peserta, dan peserta yang ingin menyampaikan pertanyaan kepada narasumber dapat menulis pertanyaan pada kolom Q&A yang sudah kami sediakan, dan jangan lupa untuk menyebutkan nama dari narasumber yang dituju. Kemudian pertanyaan mohon disampaikan dengan jelas, sopan, dan tidak mengandung unsur sara atau suku, agama, ras, dan antar golongan. Bapak, Ibu, mengingat acara ini akan dilaksanakan menggunakan bahasa Inggris, mohon Bapak dan Ibu dapat mengklik interpreter pada bagian bawah Zoom link Bapak dan Ibu agar dapat mendengarkan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Dan tidak lupa, saya juga ingin menyapa Bapak Martin dari CEO dari Julo, mohon maaf. Selamat pagi, Bapak. Bapak, Ibu, peserta Expert Lab yang berbahagia, dengan semakin menjamurnya bisnis UMKM serta perkembangan digitalisasi produk keuangan khususnya fintech yang semakin pesat, tentu sosialisasi dan edukasi terkait hal ini harus digencarkan. Karena dengan sosialisasi yang baik, harapannya para pelaku UMKM bisa mendapatkan kemudahan dari proses digitalisasi layanan fintech khususnya yang ada di Indonesia. Untuk membahas lebih dalam, Aftek bekerja sama dengan Tong Dun mengadakan kegiatan hari ini dengan topik Readiness for an Ultra Micro SME Ecosystem Financial Brain. Sebelum memulai acara, mari kita simak opening remarks yang akan disampaikan oleh Bapak Maskum selaku Advisor GIKD OJK. Kepada Bapak Maskum, waktu dan tempat kami persilahkan.
Terima kasih, Dinda. Yang saya hormati Bapak Jekalma, Presiden Direktur Tong Dun Indonesia dan Co-founder Tong Dun Group, Bapak Teguh Wahyono, Direktur Pegadaian, Bapak Muhammad Gifari, Kepala Divisi Digital Banking BRI, Bapak Martin Werik, Chief of Data Officer Julo, Bapak Kui Yong Lok, Vice President Asia Tong Dun, selaku moderator, Ibu Bapak hadirin sekalian yang berbahagia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Pertama-tama, marilah kita panjatkan puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, karena atas izinnya kita semua dapat hadir secara virtual dalam acara ini, webinar yang saya kira menarik untuk kita ikuti. Jadi pagi ini kita akan mengikuti diskusi mengenai potensi fintech, khususnya fintech credit scoring, dalam meningkatkan digitalisasi untuk dapat membuka peluang pasar dan meningkatkan kemajuan perekonomian, khususnya untuk UMKM. Saya kira diskusi ini sangat menarik dalam upaya bagaimana kita mendorong percepatan pemulihan ekonomi dan digitalisasi sektor keuangan di Indonesia, untuk dapat mencapai target pertumbuhan ekonomi yang inklusif dan tentu menciptakan iklim inovasi keuangan digital yang bertanggung jawab. Ibu Bapak yang saya hormati, sebagaimana kita ketahui bahwa sudah hampir 22 bulan kita berada dalam masa pandemi, dan saya kira transformasi digital di masa pandemi ini menjadi bagian penting dari proses bisnis pelaku usaha saat ini, di mana dengan adanya pembatasan sosial menyebabkan kemudian terjadi transisi dan akselerasi berbagai sektor untuk melakukan digitalisasi, termasuk tentunya sektor jasa keuangan dan UMKM. Kita ketahui bahwa UMKM merupakan pilar penting dalam pertumbuhan perekonomian di Indonesia yang berdasarkan data dari Kementerian Koperasi dan UKM, jumlah UMKM saat ini mencapai sekitar 64 juta yang baru sebagian kecil memperoleh akses layanan jasa keuangan. Mungkin lebih kurang 15% saja. Nah, padahal sementara itu kontribusi dari UMKM ini terhadap PDB paling tidak mencapai 61% atau sekitar 8.574 triliun. Dan kalau kita lihat dari penyerapan tenaga kerja termasuk investasi, UMKM ini memiliki kontribusi yang cukup besar terhadap perekonomian Indonesia, yaitu mampu menyerap lebih dari 80% dari total tenaga kerja, dan dari sisi investasi dapat menghimpun sekitar 60% dari total investasi yang ada. Di sisi lain, besarnya potensi UMKM di Indonesia juga tidak terlepas dari tantangan yang ada, yang ini perlu untuk mendapat perhatian kita bersama, karena selain masalah manajemen dan pemasaran, saya kira UMKM juga masih mengalami hambatan dalam pendanaan untuk pengembangan usahanya, terutama dalam memperoleh akses layanan jasa keuangan. Dan untuk membantu mengatasi tantangan tersebut, saya kira digitalisasi UMKM menjadi salah satu solusi yang dapat dilakukan, terutama di masa pandemi seperti sekarang ini. Tentu dalam menjawab tantangan tersebut diperlukan kerjasama dan dukungan dari berbagai pihak, baik pemerintah maupun semua unsur terkait, untuk dapat bagaimana mewujudkan ekosistem keuangan digital yang dapat dimanfaatkan UMKM secara lengkap, terintegrasi, kemudian berdaya saing global, dan mampu mengakselerasi pemulihan ekonomi nasional. Ini saya kira sejalan dengan momentum Indonesia yang menjadi presidensi G20 yang mengusung tema Recover Together, Recover Stronger, dengan 3 topik utama: sistem kesehatan dunia, kemudian transisi energi, dan transformasi ekonomi digital. Ibu Bapak yang saya hormati, dalam mendukung pengembangan UMKM, OJK memiliki sejumlah program yang sudah disiapkan, antara lain pertama, mendukung pembangunan ekosistem UMKM berbasis digital yang terintegrasi dari hulu hingga hilir. Kemudian kedua, dalam aspek pembiayaan, OJK melibatkan berbagai industri jasa keuangan, diantaranya perbankan, pasar modal, industri keuangan non-bank, dan juga inovasi keuangan digital atau fintech, untuk memudahkan UMKM dalam mendapatkan layanan jasa keuangan. Yang ketiga, di bidang pemasaran, OJK terus melakukan pembinaan kepada UMKM dengan menggandeng startup dan universitas, membangun kampus UMKM yang memberikan pelatihan intensif agar UMKM dapat langsung onboarding secara digital. Terkait infrastruktur, OJK menaruh perhatian untuk digitalisasi sektor jasa keuangan, antara lain dengan menerbitkan berbagai kebijakan dan strategi untuk memastikan bahwa layanan keuangan digital mudah, murah, cepat, nyaman, dan tentu aman. Untuk itu, OJK telah menerbitkan POJK terkait tentang P2P lending, kemudian security crowdfunding, dan inovasi keuangan digital. Kemudian OJK juga sudah menerbitkan master plan sektor jasa keuangan Indonesia untuk tahun 2021 sampai dengan 2025. Kemudian OJK mulai menerapkan subtek dan tektek, yaitu pengawasan sektor jasa keuangan yang memanfaatkan teknologi informasi secara komprehensif. Dan OJK juga mempersiapkan strategi untuk menyongsong kehadiran perusahaan big tech di sektor keuangan agar tidak mengganggu stabilitas sistem keuangan. Dalam kaitan ini, OJK telah menerbitkan surat pencatatan atau juga pendaftaran dan juga perizinan terhadap 104 penyelenggara fintech lending berizin dan terdaftar. Kemudian ada 7 penyelenggara security crowdfunding dan 82 penyelenggara inovasi keuangan digital yang terdiri dari 15 klaster model bisnis, termasuk di dalamnya inovatif credit scoring. Ini semua saya kira diharapkan dapat membantu para pelaku usaha termasuk UMKM dalam memperoleh pendanaan dan memudahkan mendapatkan layanan jasa keuangan. Mengingat fintech memiliki kekuatan penetrasi besar yang dapat menjangkau semua lapisan masyarakat dimanapun berada. Ibu Bapak yang saya hormati, salah satu klaster penyelenggara inovasi keuangan digital adalah inovatif credit scoring, yaitu entitas yang mengolah data non-kredit, semisal data telco, utilitas company, data e-commerce, dan data sosial media, dengan menggunakan algoritma tertentu untuk menghasilkan nilai atau huruf yang menunjukkan asesmen kelayakan seseorang untuk dapat menerima layanan jasa keuangan. Manfaat dari inovatif credit scoring ini antara lain membantu nasabah atau calon nasabah terutama dalam meningkatkan akses layanan terhadap lembaga jasa keuangan, dan dengan inovatif credit scoring akan semakin banyak kelompok masyarakat dan juga UMKM yang selama ini belum terlayani oleh lembaga jasa keuangan yang akan mendapatkan layanan jasa keuangan. Saya kira inovatif credit scoring dapat dimanfaatkan tidak hanya untuk layanan kredit atau pinjaman, tapi juga dapat dimanfaatkan untuk e-commerce, asuransi, atau perusahaan pembiayaan lainnya. Pada kegiatan Expert Lab hari ini, kita akan mengikuti lebih lanjut mengenai faktor-faktor kunci dalam keberhasilan digitalisasi UMKM, dan tentu secara spesifik kita akan mengetahui bagaimana fintech credit scoring dapat membantu digitalisasi UMKM tersebut. Saya mengapresiasi atas terselenggaranya acara ini yang telah menghadirkan para pembicara yang luar biasa dan sangat kompeten, yang pastinya dapat meningkatkan pemahaman kita semua mengenai potensi fintech, khususnya penyelenggara layanan credit scoring dalam meningkatkan digitalisasi UMKM. Ibu Bapak yang saya hormati, sebagai penutup, saya menyampaikan bahwa OJK akan terus mengambil peran dalam mengembangkan ekosistem keuangan digital dengan menerbitkan kebijakan dan peraturan dalam rangka mempercepat digitalisasi sektor jasa keuangan untuk mempercepat pemulihan ekonomi nasional, sekaligus meningkatkan inklusi keuangan bagi masyarakat luas, dan tentunya membantu mewujudkan pemerataan pembangunan serta meningkatkan kesejahteraan masyarakat. Saya kira demikian yang dapat saya sampaikan. Selamat berdiskusi. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Maskum, for the opening remarks and also the keynote speech for today's session. Once again, I would like to greet our panelists and our moderator for today's session, Bapak Maskum as an advisor Grup Inovasi Keuangan Digital Otoritas Jasa Keuangan atau GIKD OJK, Mr. Jackelma as a President Director Tongdun Indonesia and co-founder Tongdun Group, Bapak Muhammad Gifari as a Division Head of Digital Banking Development and Operation Division Bank Rakyat Indonesia, dan Ketua Bidang Teknologi Operation and Regulatory Report Perbanas, Bapak Teguh Wahyono as a Pegadaian IT Director, Mr. Martin Wirtz as a Chief of Data Officer from Julo, and last but not least, Mr. Kui Yonglok as a VP Asia Tongdun. Before entering the main event, we will hear a few interesting presentations that will be delivered by Mr. Jackelma as the President Director of Tongdun Indonesia and co-founder of Tongdun Group. To Mr. Jackelma, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's really an honor to be here. I see all the friends, all great customers, and also thank you, Pak Maskum, for leading the event and showing us a lot of things that OJK has been doing, I think it's a very busy year. And then I think like we've done a lot, and like I've seen a lot of regulators around the regions, and I really, really strongly respect what OJK has been doing in the last year. So it's really great. So as one of the participants of the digital economy, like trying to bring more inclusive finance into the country by concentrating on what we are best at, I think like that's why we have the discussion today. Like I think, well, maybe I can tell you a little bit more about myself. My name is Jack Omar, and I like started Tongdun in year of 2013 as the co-founder. We've quickly grown the company to a technology unicorn, like in a few years, mostly solving financial inclusion problems in different countries, in particular in emerging markets. And then we serve banks, P2P companies, multi-finance company, consumer finances. And then we have a lot of new internet inclusive finance partners, as well as we work with a lot of supply chain finance organizations trying to solve different problems. I would say initially, like I love the problem that we solve are closer to the consumer space to start with. But like yet today's topic that we're going to go through is the one that I really like. I myself started 3 companies at the age of 22. And I actually earned some money through all these endeavors. So you can look at me as I'm an entrepreneur like my whole life. And then that's why the topic of MSMEs financing is really closest to my heart. So today I'm going to go through this and I'll show you what we've been doing. And next slide, please. So I'm going to go through 4 pretty interesting part of it. First of all, I think I will just quickly go through why MSME financial services is important, why we need to flourish the most important sector in our economy. And then, well, this is a problem that a lot of people try to solve, but with new thoughts, we're going to show you how we believe the 4 different sectors should work together to put a new recipe on our problems. A lot of my friends in the industry have been trying to have credit scoring models using different type of data for the last 20 years to solve the MSME problems. But only lately that we started to see it really clicks, started to see new ways to really solve the problem. So I'm going to share with you some of the thoughts there. And then we can quickly together go through real life examples of how during the pandemics, when a lot of the MSMEs are struggling, how our system, our good systems to help MSME financing is going to really help the whole society. And then I'm going to end by putting some thoughts on what would the future of MSME financing looks like by showing you our financial ring model, the one that I come up with about 1 year ago and has been put in practice in a lot of cities and provinces. And I'm going to show you a little bit more on that. Next slide, please. So about why it is the most important sector in our economy, I think already Pak Mascom tell us a little bit more about that. So I'm going to quickly go through this. Next slide, please. And if we take a look at all these numbers, well, in terms of the total number of enterprises, in terms of the job opportunities, in terms of import and export, especially, I think this is a growing area in Indonesia for the next 10 years. And then it's going to become a more and more important part of the overall GDP contributions. And yet, if we look at taxation contribution, it's a little bit low. And with the digital economy and with a lot of new things that's happening in our economy, I think that's going to increase as well. I think well, one very important number that I want to pin on here is the funding gap of like around 165 billion US dollar. Well, this is the number that we got for last year. Like MSMEs do really need money. And like, it's not like we don't have money in the financial systems. In a lot of cases, it's really about we don't know these MSMEs and financial services organizations really don't know who they should lend to and who not to lend to. So like when we look at these like overall problems, well, we find out that as high as 69.5% of financial needs from MSMEs are not fulfilled or are only partially fulfilled. Well, these are a few of the reasons that we see why like these like MSME finance right now do need a lot of help. Most MSMEs, they are weak in asset base, but a lot of our traditional lending wisdoms is very collateral related. So it's like very difficult for us to use the old paradigm to try to energize this particular sector. And then like the financial report like is very unreliable, as we all know. And then we don't have anybody that specializes in credit profile for these smaller enterprises. And in a lot of ways, we find out that like these people, even though they are good people, we don't have information about them. But other organizations might have. So there's an asymmetry information that we have to deal with. For example, the core enterprise in the supply chain that they belong to may know a lot of information about these people. And if we can collaborate with the core enterprises within the supply chain, we will know a lot more information, for example. And then like, because of all this, it's very difficult to predict the risk. And then like, we don't have a lot of example to show, okay, we have a score and the score works. So we actually need a lot of experiment. We Tongdun participate in a lot of sandbox, like in like multiple countries, multiple cities. Like all regulators like would like to like try this, and then like they like carefully will like put it in sandboxes, try to find out how well scores like from different like data sources when cooked together can help solving this problem. So like, well, later on in later slides, I'm going to show you how that problem like seems to have like really good like solutions to the whole thing. Next slide, please. So like when you think about it, for the financial institutions, they all like have business development requirements. They really like want more like customers, but on the other hand, they want to lower down their cost. The old way of doing a lot of due diligence online, like on site and so on, is really costs a lot of money. It's not effective, and like it's only very fragmental in assessing organizations' creditworthiness. And then the approval time really is long. Like in the past, we're not surprised to see some like countries like to approve a loan like that take like 4 weeks, 6 weeks. So like it's really long. And then I think all these like credit services, the banks are crying for it, the financial institutions are crying for it, but like we haven't been able to see a lot of organizations putting this together. So banks want more business, want to lend, but like they lack some of the tools. And then like well, even if they lend out, they worry about the NPL level and so on. So on the other hand, like what the regulators really want around the regions, well, definitely it is the mandate like of regulators. They want to improve the business environment. I think as Park Mascom had mentioned, we really want to speed up the recovery by doing the right thing into the economy, and all of us play a part. So like improving the business environment is especially important in the post-pandemic era that we are going to face. And then, but on the other hand, like we need to control it very carefully, because we have seen other part of the world, like when it's not controlled carefully, it can create chaos as well. So like, how do we support the whole thing? Like for a national program, it's becoming like a big topic that we always face. And we talk to a lot of the regulators around the regions, like different countries and so on. Like different people will have like different solutions. But like the one that I'm going to like show you, and then I hope later on at our panel discussions, we can think like more about what else we can do together for Indonesia. Next slide, please. So like, that's why when we first look at the problem, I told you, I know of modelers that have built like different scorecards, different scores for MSMEs for over 20 years. And that didn't really work. The reason why it didn't really work is because like in the past, well, it's not as data driven, like the lack of data is like, and lack of decision technologies is making it very difficult. So what we really need in establishing like this data-driven financial services for MSME is we really need very comprehensive like data dimensions. Later on, in the next slide, I'm going to show you like more about what type of data is required. And then when we look at these business, these individuals, how can we like have more systematic approach to like really analyze this information, these different dimensions. And then like by building better corporate like credit profile, I think like it's very important to have people like around a particular industry to participate as well. Later on, I'm going to show you like different provinces, different cities with very different industry profile, like the type of information that's required to assess these like different industries, MSMEs will be different. Quickly, for example, we work with like different like cities. Some of them are financial centers, such as Shanghai in like China. We also work with like a province that is doing very well in terms of redwood furniture, and the whole supply chains and all the MSMEs around that particular area is all redwood furniture. So we need to understand these different supply chains and then really evaluate these MSMEs like with more information, more data from around the ecosystems. So that's why we need to build like a corporate like a credit profile together. And then we also need to monitor and forecast it correctly, because these do change in times as the economy is changing as well. So it's very important to have monitoring of like the results. And like to really break down like information, like provide symmetrical information, I think it's very important that newer technology can be provided so that organizations are not afraid of sharing information. Like we can share information within GDPR's like a paradigm, and then like we can really like use new technologies to collaborate our information and knowledge. Well, and that need to be done as well. So like with all these, then we can really solve like the difficulty that we have and all the high costs that we have, because MSMEs, a lot of people tell me they have no choice, but really like resort themselves to very, very high interest rate financing, because like the traditional organization don't want to lend to them. So we really need to solve this problem together with these new technologies. So like next slide, please. Well, like I am introducing like some of the examples here, like what we have done, like to show you why like 4 different sectors need to interact together. And that's how we are solving like these issues. Next slide, please. Well, and that is like we are really trying to show like a different part of it. Like the financial institutions on one hand, like they will process some of this information. The MSME need to like provide this information. The technology company, like the technology platform, really need to do a lot of things, and the government need to do a lot of things. Let me explain to you some of these data elements in this particular area. If you look at like when evaluating MSMEs, we really have a lot of information that the government actually has. And if we systematically open up these informations and then like create credit score systematically, it's like very useful for the whole society. These include, like, I'm not going to go through all of them, but when you think about it, BPJS data, like or DPPK, DPLK data, taxations, judicial, police, telco, utilities, and so on and so forth. So that's a lot of information. And also macroeconomics information from like statistics, like and so on. It's also very important for ministries. So like together, if like opening up this information, this is the first time that we would be able to really size up how these MSMEs are like performing, how trustworthy they should be, and assessing their credit worthiness. Like having these informations, having information from MSMEs like together, then we can create these behavior scores. Then we can do more anti-fraud, like because that's like a big part of what we need to do when the number of applications increase. Love-based information verifications can be done much quicker, like with newer technology. That's what technology platforms can do. Well, there's a lot of calculation that's required. Like I love machine learning, artificial intelligence. We need very good decision engines that can easily accommodate like all the changes that's happening in real time. Crank out new indexes like per seconds. So all these things are happening in real time. And then like the platform required to do the like algorithms and do the like data processing integrations, that's very important. And all these need to be processed like from the technology like partners. In some of the examples that we see, like these become what we call operation center for these like MSME financing hubs. They will serve multiple people and they will cooperate with governments together to form the financial brain. And then like, of course, with all this information, each individual financial institution still need to have their own scoring model because everybody's risk appetite is different. And then they are going to come up with their differential interest rates and like pricing models. They do their own overall risk like assessments and so on. Well, like this is the basic data and technology view of what the financial brain is doing. I would also like to stress like this is only a very small snapshot of like what's happening. In real time cooperating with government, if we want to have sustainable MSMEs, that some of them are very regional, like as I've mentioned, because it's also related to industries, governments, stimulation packages like on different industries and so on and so forth. Some of them related to like MSMEs in technology parts, trying to start up and then like how you're going to work together with them and so on. With the financial brain, you will be able to do a lot more than just having financial institutions willing to lend to MSMEs through all these informations. The whole ecosystem is much bigger, much bigger. So this is like the basis of our discussion today, and I'm going to explain more in the next few slides about the different actors, like namely the government, the tech company, the financial institutions, and the enterprises themselves. Next slide, please. Okay, here, like I would like to explain a little bit more about like what each of the actors need to work on. Well, in different countries, in different jurisdictions, it works a little bit different. But really, the government will appoint different people, and to really start to open up data. If we look at what we've seen in Brazil, in Mexico, what we've seen in China, what we've seen in some part of the world, compared it to Indonesia, I think Indonesia is starting to open up a lot more, and we are glad that we've started to see that. But yet, a lot of the information are still relatively difficult to access, and I think that need to be changed, and we require a lot of government attention to how this information should be changed. I just give you one example. We work with the power grid of southern China, and they have a lot of information about the utilization of electricity of these small MSMEs. And they have a lot of information, but they don't know how to really make sense of this information. So they actually need tech company to go in to structure these informations for them. The environmental informations, the government have a lot of different ministries working on these informations, and that actually also show how MSMEs are working, show their health. If you are production type of companies, your environmental data actually shows a lot about what you are doing and so on. So these information typically are not as open, and I think as we do more and more MSMEs and we do more and more productive in the next little while, we need to change that, and we are very willing to work with the different government sectors, different provinces, and different ministries to work on these informations as well. So it's very important that there's a management responsibility to help organize platforms for these informations to flow to scoring and tech companies. And then also there's a lot more work to do. In some organizations and some cities, they actually need a centralized platform to have all these informations put in. Well, not a lot of countries have nationwide informations, because some of these are a lot more local. But of course, for smaller countries, that's possible. So these data, they are so raw, it's very difficult for us to use it to cook scores. So we actually need to work together to all these different ministries get the data together and try to normalize them in a way that ultimately they can be usable for credit scoring, for example. And well, of course, remember these data, they are not static, they're changing, right? So the whole data cleansing management cycle need to be established as well for all these participants, even within the government sectors and the public services sectors. So that's very important. We need to have awareness and also find out what help is required. And in different provinces that we go to, different cities that we go to, they're quite different. And then well, I give you one very interesting example. We work with one of the cities which is very cold and port transportation related. So the whole thing is heavy steel manufacturing, and as well as port shipments and so on. So the government the governor pulled together about 13 ministers in that particular area, and then all of them have data. They want to throw it to the governor and say that, hey, we are willing to participate. But when we start as a consultant going in there and say, hey, what can we do? It takes us almost 6 months just to try to normalize things in a simple way so that we can start making sense of all these different data from different ministries. So I think it's very important that we start looking at that, and then we need to participate and work on that income work area. And then when you look at the MSMEs and the financial institutions, that's also very important that in the past, it's more like, okay, financial services say, I have one product, I have 10 products. Everybody come to my webpage, look at my products, and if you like it, apply for it. That has been the past, and that actually is a real problem for MSMEs. Because some MSMEs, they might require working capital finances, but they are very specific. But like a lot of financial institutions, they started to do that. They will say, hey, this is the like 4 products or 5 products that I have. If you don't find like what you like, sorry, like that's the whole thing. But after we started, to create credit score to really match people's demand and match the products and so on, financial organizations start to realize, okay, looks like the demands are so different from the products that we actually offer. So we really see the financial service platform doing more than just scoring. They actually help matching like demands and then like help creating products and like help different financial services to realize, okay, what is really the needs out there. So like I think like that's a very important part of like matching like demands and like products in here. We also see different actors because we also see insurance company, reinsurance company coming in to do additional guarantees and so on when the risk profile in there shows that like the financial services alone cannot do it. So like that's the financial services part. And then like if you look at the technology company, we need to provide like a very robust platform. We need to have experts to establish these models, to like change these models and work together with financial services, work together with people who apply for the loans and work together with the governments and so on. In one of the example, like we actually form a joint venture company between the government, between financial services institutes and technology company, and that become the operating unit for a particular region because like they are responsible for gathering all these informations and they are responsible for really like getting the MSME financial services problem solved in that particular region. So like that has been done in the past. And these 4 sectors really work together well. And later on, I'm going to show you more examples about like how in real life, like how much we have done. Next slide, please. One very important way that we try to look at is these days, like we need to really have both the business and the business owner's portrait, really try to profile both of them. So like, and in a lot of the examples that we went into and start making like these scores, we need to do both business portrait as well as the business owners, major like owners portraits all together and combine them into the scores. So as you see, like we have a lot of basic information on the business portrait sides. We actually use additional information such as graph, like computing and so on to find out linkage between different small entities, because like some of these small entities like together will show you some patterns and show you some additional risks, for example, that you really need to tie together. And then like all these, like I would say blacklists and things like that, we really need to like look at as well. So like that's where we need a lot of the information in the previous slides. On the government side, we put it in together into the business portraits. And as I mentioned, like for example, individual industries like import like really help enhancing it as well. So specific scores, for example, for industries, if you look at some of the examples that we've gone through in Hangzhou, in China, where Alibaba is, like that's where we have some of the example, and that is a heavy e-commerce oriented city. So we need a lot of additional information from payment providers jointly together to do additional and logistic company, for example, join together to view how these MSMEs are doing. But like in some of the other examples that we have, they are more financials, because, for example, we work with one of the cities within Shanghai on a pilot, and we find out that there's a lot of small financial services organizations, or I would say supply chain around the financial services. These are individual contractors, and they have very good contracts, and but they lack working capitals to get the resources. Do we help them to do that? So different industries, you really need to input additional information to make the models even more interesting. So that's the business portrait side. On the other hand, right now with I would say in the last 2-3 years, in Indonesia, Tongdun has participated a lot, and then we are one of the ICS company. We see a lot of consumer informations about individuals, and we know how these people act, okay? And then the creditworthiness of these individual people. So we really need to combine these two portraits and try to evaluate a particular applications from both ends. So we really need a lot of tools in really doing both static reporting, aggregated reporting, and dynamic reporting together. So we need to do portraits, we need to put them together, and for people to approve these loans, they need to have dynamic views about what they should do. I would say a big part of these loans, when the amount is relatively slow, I'm going to show example later on, a big part of these can be done automatically, which save a lot of money. And the results really talks, the NPL, that's results of these automatically approved loans of MSMEs actually is very much within controllable area values. So this is what we need to do, a dual portrait. Next slide, please. So when you think about it, when we are doing the business and business owner portraits, we have different areas. In here, we show the major 6 areas that we are evaluating in one of the examples that we have. It got to do with their size, what their solvency. So, and we get a lot of these information from multiple sources, and then their revenue level, their growth potentials, and also the owner's conditions. So we see a lot of these, and a lot of these informations can come from the government data that we've mentioned, social information that we've mentioned, and so on. And then for example, one of the partner that we have, they actually put cameras outside the storage for these people that they're evaluating, and they try to understand the ins and outs of these goods coming in, coming out, and so on. And with that type of additional information that get feed into the model, and then we actually help evaluating that particular supply chains model a lot better. So that's why we have generic MSME scores. And then we also produce with additional information, more specific scores for different industries as well. And well, I just show an example on this slide on one of the industry that's more on environment, ecosystems. So we put our scores, and then we try to test it against it, and they track very well in terms of who's more credit worthy and who's not, and so on. So our overall scores for that particular experiment that we're doing, the average industry score is about 613, but they track very well with the reputation of these organizations as well. So all in all, these are some basic things that we're doing. And well, of course, there's a lot more than we can discuss more during the panel discussion. Well, you need a lot of information, collaborations, but with a lot of the GDPR related regulations, like how can we collaborate? Like that's also a big problem that we're solving with technology as well. So like this is the dual portrait. Next slide, please. So let's go for a case study, because I think it would be more interesting to like look at real numbers. Like one of the cities that we actually I started this project about 3 months before the pandemic, and then everybody look at us and look at the governor of that province and say, "Hey, why are you guys starting it 3 months before the pandemic? What do you know?" Like this is like so interesting. We just say, "Hey, we want to help the MSME." Like in the northern part of China, Tangshan actually is like right beside Tianjin. Like this is like heavily a steel-oriented, like and heavy industry-oriented cities. And then we started this platform that all the MSMEs can go and register themselves. And then like all financial services organizations can register themselves and start going into the matching situations. We create scores that like for these companies that's joining, and then with government data, like they are provided to these institutions. So both the matching of demand, matching of products, as well as the overall evaluation of credit is done within the systems. So let's look at it. Like we have about 14,000 companies registered in that city, and then like about like 4,000 of them apply for financing. And all in all, there's about 62 banks and financial institutions have joined the collaborations. And there's 242 financial products being like put into the system. Some of them are originally there. Some of them are modified products after they understanding the demands. So like we all in all, there's 242 financial products being put under the systems for matching. And then like in a year, in about a 2-year time period, there's about 94 billion dollar worth of financing demands, and approved is around $70 billion. So like that's pretty much like what we've seen. And the most important thing that I want to show you is at the heat of the pandemic in 2020, in May of 2020, like we actually helped really like do more than 10 billion dollar loans to a lot of a lot of MSMEs, helping them from being bankrupt. With our model, however, one thing that we are very proud of, almost all of them like are correctly predicted that these people will repay. Yes, all of the people that we predicted they will repay, they will repay. So like I think that's really remarkable, and that's like very, very minimal NPL in that. And like that's really showing us with big data, with opened up data from the government, we would be like able to do a lot more. And like these are like not like huge loans. These are like something like $20,000, like $10,000 type of loans to as MSMEs. So like it's very interesting. Then they keep on coming back for their like working capital needs, like at times and so on. So there's a lot of recurring loans that we've seen like all through as well. So it really helped. And then there's some like a report on the GDP growth that a system like that can help like on the city. That is not like I don't think I'm allowed to say that, but like I can tell you roughly that that's a very good like 10% shoot for them. So like that's what we see. The power of financing for MSMEs really help a city, okay, to create and increase the GDP. A good system like that also help a lot of struggling MSMEs during pandemics. And like actually, this has been praised by like our State Department within China, and we've seen like very similar case study like that in multiple cities and so on as well. So like I think this is why it's close to my heart, because I think we are helping people. When we first started the company Tongdun, the reason why we started this is I really want to help people. I think financial inclusion is very important. And then when I see all these people, because of our systems, because of what we've done together with the government and the financial institutions, we really help people from becoming bankrupt, and they recover well. And that made me a lot more proud. It's like I'm not more happy for me to see all this happening than like just you throw $1 million to me. I think it's like very different. So that's why like I'm very proud like and on some of these things that we've achieved in multiple cities, multiple countries. And like I'm bringing this to like Indonesia. We want to work together with the government, with the regulators, and with financial institutions, trying to solve this problem together. And like, well, of course, we have a lot of our good customers here, like that. We're starting to tackle these problems together, and I really want that. Next slide, please. Well, this is one of the like operating center, basically like showing what's been like lent out. I think like that's like about 311 like. $31 billion at some point. So like they do that, and then they know about the distributions of SMEs within the provinces and within the regions and so on. A very interesting side story is the mayor of that city, the deputy mayor of that city get promoted to like to a vice governor of that province after this project. So like really they help a lot, and then he get promoted like politically as well. So we are very happy that we help our friends. Next slide, please. So like to sum up, I think the value of MSME, like really like there's more financing channels, more products, and then like well, I think the matching is very important, the timely like releasing of money when they really need it. And then like also that's a good feedback process that can be done like with all these models and all these platforms, matching platforms. And for financial institutions, they are very happy because that really extend their customer base and hugely reduce the customer acquisition costs. You don't need to do due diligence on site. And then the NPL, like it's very much within controllable like area. And like that's why like everybody's happy, the government's happy, as I've mentioned. Like the economy is like looking better, the recovery is doing well from a macro perspective as well. So I think like that's why I like to share this with you, because I think like we need to do a lot of that, like in different countries with the pandemics, with the recovery that everybody is trying to put together. I think MSME is really at the heart of it. Next slide, please. Okay, so quickly summarizing, we would say like the 4 different sectors, including the government's participations, the MSME, the supply chain, the different like industries like participations, the financial services in terms of like how they fine-tune their products and how they participate in this whole process, and tech company to really empower the trusted digital intelligence base and operations. So this is, in my mind, really the future of MSME financing. I have a pretty complicated map, next slide please, that I quickly want to just show a snap. I actually have erased a lot of the detailed information in there, but I just want to show you that our like our company have modeled how the government, the enterprises, the financial services, and the technology companies should work together, like and within each sector all of them are doing their digital transformation as well. So while we are trying to get these four pieces together, each one of them is going through a lot of digital transformations. Take financial services as an example, like each BUs within the financial services like credit, MSME, corporate, and then like consumer, they're going through their own digital transformations, and they are all trying to gradually started to share information across BUs and so on, and have like a good overall data platform. Government, each individual ministries like that we've worked with, they actually have projects to do digital transformations, and then they are like people who's trying to link them together to as well. Different enterprises, such as core enterprises of supply chains, like different MSMEs, like in the past, they can't participate, but with mobile internet and so on, they can participate a lot more. So everybody's going through that digital transformations, and technology enablers like us, like really like have a lot of new technology to put in as well. All in all, I think these four sectors in the future really need like to create converged application that never been able to create before without these collaborations. And then like the digital intelligence, like symbiosis, meaning everybody can work together, and then we can have trusted interoperability with things such as the privacy computing that we work on, such as the federated learning that we work on, and so on. So that's pretty much conclude like my presentations. And like, I hope this kind of like shed some light to you how in my view, the financial brain should work. And I want more discussion together with all of you to see how we can make it work better in Indonesia. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jacoma, for the presentation. Before we continue to the next session, I would like to invite all the panelists and moderator to open the camera and give us the best smile for the photo sessions. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, once again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for all the panelists and moderator. And also for the next agenda is our main agenda for today, which is panel discussion, which will be led by Mr. Kui Yonglok as VP Asia of Tongdun. For Mr. Kui Yonglok, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Linda, and a warm welcome to everybody here to participate in this this event. And thank you, Mr. Jacoma, for such a thought-provoking presentation. So now we are into the panel discussion. So the way that I'm going to conduct this panel discussion is that I'm going to ask each panelist and the speaker 2 questions. Then I'll open up the discussion to the public as well, the participant in this event. Okay, so I would like to start with Pak Gifari, or I will say doctor as well, because you have a doctorate in computer science. As the first question, Pak Gifari, is what are your perception of MSME creditworthiness? And then the follow-on question, are there particular sectors of MSME that are especially of interest, or you think that you want to focus for BRI?
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. KY. Hopefully I spell your name correctly, your nickname correctly. Yeah. And also it's an honor to be with this amazing panelists, Mr. Jekyll, Mr. Teguh Wahyono, Mr. Maskum, Mr. Martin Wierix, to discuss about the, the digital perspective on an MSME. So I think without a doubt, MSME has been the main contributor for BRI's driving force with the proportion of MSME loans to BRI's total credit portfolio, even increased from, 80% last year to 82% last year. This year, I mean, and this main segment that drives this growth is mostly on the micro loans, with the disbursement growing 38.5% year on year, with a total of more than 455 trillion rupiah. And I think although the disbursement has rapidly increased, BRI also maintained the quality of the loans disbursed by, keeping the NPL ratio at a low level, about 3.28%. And also this is in favor of BRI's strategy that is, business follow stimulus. I think it's also, as a follow-up of the, pandemic crisis here, where we focus on accelerating sustainable economy by improving the effectiveness and efficiency of the stimulus and highlighting stimulus also, that can boost the consumers' buying power. And BRI has mapped the strategic SME sectors. Is actually in line with your second question. That actually dominated in the area of accommodation, food and beverage, manufacturing, agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. Those actually some areas that become the focus on the stimulus during the COVID pandemic. And this year, BRA also dived deeper into the MSME space, seeking growth opportunities by reaching out to the tiniest business, the ultra micro segment. This is actually also the collaboration with the Pak Teguh's team, I believe, with Pegadaian and PNM that actually try to, expand the market of the ultra micro segment. And, since we actually kind of, observe that there are more than 57 million ultra micro businesses spread over the nation, but only less than 20% have access to financing. It's actually also, related to Pak Jekyll said, that they have no choice for the other proportion, lending from the loan sharks, unfortunately, with a high interest rate. So BRI aim to reach this segment with smaller ticket sizes and shorter tenor. So basically go shorter, go smaller, and go cheaper with the technology, digital technology, with, being the supporting system. And, I think some of the digital initiative that we've done so far, so we actually try to digitize the core, basically. Maybe in English, we say that government subsidized loan or people business loan that actually offer, a small interest rate with easy, to disburse a loan. And with the help of also some kind of a digital product like BRISpot that actually make the loan approval become easier. And I think lastly, but probably the most important thing, we also, build the AI and machine learning services that we call it BRI-Brain. It's actually kind of coincidence that, Mr. Jekyll mentioned a financial brain. So there's, we in BRI, we have a BRI-Brain, which is basically an AI-powered big data platform that try to consolidate the data from, many sources, to kind of build innovative credit scoring that can help, to spread the financial inclusion into the next level, basically. And I think, this year we also extended and integrated the effort with, Pegadaian and PNM forming the largest ultra micro ecosystem. And through this holding, there will be also, cross-selling through mobile apps as well for the, sales officer, basically, that can actually offer, many, more diverse products, basically, between these three institutions, and with the hope that also to enrich the data that actually can strengthen also the financial brain, borrowing the term from Mr. Jekyll, in order to actually have A score, B score, or C score that actually more relevant and also more robust for the future.
Okay, thank you, Pak Givari, for the excellent answer. Next, I would like to invite Pak Teguh, the president, the IT director of Pegadaian. Pak Teguh, the question for you is, in what sector do your borrower operate? And then follow on is, what is your MSME outreach process? And how do you feel that your outreach differs from your friendly competitors or your peers? Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Kwi, thank you so much opportunity for sharing with all of us. I think Pegadaian now is joining the SME ultra micro holding, as Pak Givari mentioned before. So our focus now is, of course, we are going to wider our reach especially in the ultra micro segment. Our customer now is around like 18 million customer, in which 60% of them actually are SME or even like a super micro customer. The average ticket size now is around like 10 million for non-pawn shop and around like 6 million for the pawn lending itself. So the different Pegadian with the other acting is we are offering very simple and fast lending now, because lending can be delivered within less than 15 minutes. Even before we do like a digital transformation, because it is our value actually, fast and very simple. Of course, have to be based on the collateral base. This means like a pawn lending. Okay, going forward, we are going to widening our penetration. So we've been targeted to have like another 3 to 5 million between next year. And also it is will be focusing on collaboration with our holding, of course, BRI and PNM as well. It is why we do a lot of expansion with the collocation officer, etc. For the second question, I think we realized that going forward, we need to have like a wider reach. And then we also realized that our brand is very limited. Currently, we have only around like 4,000 branches, but it is not enough, you know, because Indonesia is very wide, crossing the national wide. It is why the second and the other considerations, you know, because currently Pegadian customer actually is very limited in the digital literacy. We can deliver some number, for example, like our customer basically only 34% who own smartphone or internet connection. The other thing also around 60% of them basically they are asking for cash basis, you know, because they are like we call it like emak-emak. So they need the real money to go to the traditional market, etc., etc. It is why another consideration that it is one reason going forward we still maintaining relationship with O2O model. It means we work with some like people or whatever, basically to connecting between online and offline. It is why we have a lot of agents. We have a lot of course, with the BRI, we have like a Senyum. Senyum mean like a central layanan ultra micro. So within one place, a customer can come with three services from BRI, Holding, and then Pegadian, and also PNM. In the online side, also we are trying to reach like a younger customer. So we do a lot of collaboration with fintech. We can mention some name, I think. We become the super lender. So they are become our channel. So some P2P currently work together with us as a partner. And the other thing is e-commerce, you know, because we have also like investment a product like tabungan emas. It's mean like people can buy emas in this very small denomination. It is why we work very big name on the e-commerce, and also in the asset management, because we have also like a gold asset investment. The last thing, and I think it's very important also, we work with a tech company like Tongdun, of course, because we realize also that our traditional scoring now is not relevant anymore, for at least for three reasons. The first reason is the rate itself, because most of traditional scoring basically based on the historical data. I mean, historical financial data. And unfortunately, as mentioned before with Pak Maskun also, that basically most of the SME, basically only 15% who already have the financial record. It is why the size is still open very big. We need some like innovation scoring who is not only based on the traditional, but also a bit of predictive and also more wider way to make sure that our asset will be going better. I think it's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tegu, yeah, for the again excellent answer as well. So the next up will be Mr. Matai Rick. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Yeah, and he's the Chief Data Officer of Julo. So Matai, the question for you is, what constraint and opportunity do you see for financing access from fintech to MSME?
Yeah, thank you, KY. And thanks to the other panelists and Tongdun for hosting this event and inviting me to allow me to share my thoughts. Um, so to answer your question, I want to start with the opportunities. I think just to start with a positive note. And I think there's really three things that are happening in the market that make this an interesting area for us as an industry to spend more attention to. The first is that I think there's a high demand for MSME financing these days, and really, the pandemic, as bad as it was, it has really helped, I think, and sparked sort of a significant increase in demand. A lot of businesses, ran out, unfortunately, of runway, and people had to reinvent themselves and did so by starting up new businesses, right? So there's been an increase actually of MSME businesses in that space, which require financing needs. Secondly, also due to the pandemic, actually, I think we see an increase sort of in emerging platforms to support these type of MSME initiatives, to make it easier for individuals to start businesses online. And I think at Julo, we see that, and we have adopted also to these changes. I mean, the Indonesian fintech sector is very dynamic, right? So we always have to look around what's changing next and where are these opportunities. And for us, that's been one of our focus areas for growth, I think, this year and the coming years. And right now, we're actually onboarding new partners for MSME lending each month, one per month. In fact, is our target right now. The second opportunity, I think, is that a lot of these MSMEs, also supported through these emerging platforms, are becoming increasingly digital. So they become online, which makes it much easier to integrate with these and to connect with these businesses and to get them to market faster and to support them in their lending needs. It also makes it easier to underwrite, right? So more as they are digital, more data is stored, more data is available, and it allows us to build models and see how they perform in real time. And finally, because they become increasingly digital, it's much easier to scale also these type of services. And then the third opportunity that I have here is really that this fintech ecosystem, not only is it changing, it is also maturing. So what we see is obviously laws and regulations are shifting and are improving, and Ojeka plays a major role in this, in developing that's his ecosystem. And it reduces uncertainty. It reduces uncertainty for people who want to enter that market, start a business, but also for lenders and how to operate and in what boundaries. So that's a big one. Second, I think the technology itself of those ecosystems is maturing, right? So it provides better user experiences. It's easier to onboard MSMEs and to do the underwriting. And yeah, generally just a more pleasant experience, I think, both for lenders and MSMEs. And I think also as the ecosystem matures, the product market fit is improving. So we increasingly now know what is the market, what do they need, what do they want, what MSMEs are out there. And every industry, every sector in itself is different, right? And they have different needs also for lending. There's no one size fit all. And as ecosystem matures, I think there's increasingly opportunities there to help MSMEs in different industries. And I want to jump to the constraints, right? And there's really, from my experience, kind of two major constraints that we see. The first is underwriting. I think underwriting is still challenging, despite everything that I just mentioned. Specifically, it is difficult to get access to sort of input and performance data. So at Julo, we're pretty big on building and developing models ourselves, but getting access to this type of data is critical to do so, and that makes it challenging. It requires a lot of time actually to get people on board and to underwrite properly. Secondly, as every partner is different, as I mentioned before. So the data sources are not uniform, which means that it's again a lot of customization is actually required there to do this well. And yeah, that I think that is also key to the quality of underwriting, because without tailoring to the specific needs of each platform or each MSME, it's very difficult to do good underwriting at this point. There is no currently solution that's one size fits all for underwriting either. The second big challenge is actually integration. So despite the fact that there's more and more platforms available now through which MSMEs can put their businesses online, integrating with these platforms is also difficult because they are also different, right? So there's high variability in systems, in processes, in the products, and in the financing needs. Also, how these platforms interact with the MSMEs is different every time, right? They want to be very protective of them, or they want them to be a little bit more, take a little bit more risk, and both of these needs, they require different approaches typically to how we structure and integrate with these platforms. And then finally, I think these product requirements, they also greatly vary, right, between the industries and the use cases of these MSMEs, right, and they're continually developing as well. And we got to keep every month we encounter new type of use cases too, which require different needs. So I think to sum it up, those are really the main opportunities and constraints that we face on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Martin, for this excellent answer as well. Next up, I will invite Mr. Giacomo back again for the questions. And the question to you, Mr. Giacomo, is what constraint or opportunity do you see for financing access from a technology company like Tongdun to the MSME? Yeah.
I think like the participation from government is really, I think, will be key. Like we see a lot of this information. I agree with Martin on like the fact that it's very difficult. Like unless you have in some cities that we have seen, you really need an entity to hold all the data. That on one hand the government is comfortable about. On the other hand, they will allow for a tech company to go in to create a score. So it's not like they open up all the data, everybody can access, and then like all our customers can easily access it, because they're not sure like who should hold on to that data. So we, as a matter of fact, that's why we come up with joint ventures and like that can hold like these amount of informations in a relatively trusted like area that the government's willing to open up to a certain way rather than opening everything to like the general public and so on. So I think that area is actually becoming like the difficult part. Like I think financial services know what they want. Regulators also know what they want, like really getting the acts together to put this information into a place that everybody can start working in. I think that's the toughest part. And I think we need a lot of help in particular in Indonesia for that as well.
All right, thank you, Jacob. Yeah. Next question will be directed to Pak Kifari again. So the second question is, what are examples of collaboration among bank, financial services, fintech, and MSME that can be done to leverage financial access? Then follow on is, in your perspective, what is the government role in leveraging access to finance for MSME? Yes.
Right. Yeah, I think it's happening already in terms of the collaborations between many financial institutions, whether from the incumbents to the newcomers in the digital fintech. And I think we have to acknowledge that like fintech and startups are more agile in adapting and adopting the most cutting edge technologies, especially on the front end side, right? That actually provide some more mobile apps that have high customer experience, but in the same time, I think from the perspective of big traditional incumbent banks, also have a major advantage in being excellent as a payment system at scale with the huge capital and assets, and also are less risky to some extent. Although as mentioned by Mr. Jekyll, that's actually still predominantly with asset-based or collateral-based financing services, right? And I think basically the collaboration among those financial institutions can help us complement each other, resulting in better innovation and expanding reach for financial inclusion. I think BRI always sees other financial institutions, startups, and rising alternative financing players not as competitors, but also always as strategic partners in the effort of accelerating financial inclusion. And to achieve this, we open up the gates for any collaborations, such as through open banking or open API initiative. In BRI, we have BRI API that actually, trying to provide many basic services, basically that can be as embedded financing that become, embedded with any kind of application on the front end side, basically, and also venturing partnership with fintech and cross-industry digital platforms to expand our distribution channel, basically. And I think from the data and also the financial brain side, and as Pak Teguh mentioned as well, I think from our side we also collaborate with Tongdun, of course, in terms of try to leverage alternative data and have a sort of scoring system that open up the possibility for our probably unbanked customer, basically, that actually to apply for a specific lending services through a digital platform. And I think the example is actually also Ceria. This is actually one of the digital platform that actually the under the hood is actually being built based on the alternative credit scoring. And another example, I think I also mentioned that before, that KUR Digital, where this kind of loan was established by Indonesian government in around 2007, to provide MSME financing through subsidized capital loans. And since the pandemic hits, actually we concentrate and also focus on how to digitizing the core of this lending services through KUR. And it's actually also being kind of having a sort of partnership with many kind of digital platform as well that actually can kind of market or probably become like another channel for customers to apply for KUR Digital. But in the back end side, we actually need still have a BRI process running under the hood. And also we partner with Indonesia's top digital e-commerce, ride-hailing, and digital platforms that house most of Indonesian MSME, such as probably mentioned like Tokopedia, Shopee, Gojek, Grab, and many more. And also this allows MSMEs in the mentioned digital platforms to directly apply the KUR or the people business loan through the platform using the bulk upload scheme, basically, and being backed with open API services. And maybe lastly, we also join force as well with like P2P lending fintech, for example, with Investri or Modal Rakyat, as the first institutional lender, basically, in the nation. And then through that partnership, we managed to disburse around 440 billion rupiah, in loans through those channels.
All right, thank you, Pak Gifari. Next will be Pak Teguh. The question is actually the same as Pak Gifari. I mean, basically, what are examples of collaboration between Pegadaian Pawnshop and MSME that can be done to leverage financial access? And then, in your perspective, what is the government role in leveraging access to the finance for MSME?
Okay, KY, I think as I mentioned before that basically we are open to collaborate because, in the digital era, I think collaboration is the most important keyword. So no more competition among us. So we believe that it is the best way. I mean, how to leverage the digital economic. So currently we do a lot of collaboration with like a fintech as Pak Kifari mentioned also, we do exactly the similar with the Investri, Modal Rakyat, and also Coinwork, I think. And so in the pipeline, we still a lot of other P2P lending. The other thing also, again, like e-commerce, we are very welcome to work with them because they have the crowd. We have the technology. I mean, to find the technology is very simple. We can buy it, but again, to invite the crowd is very expensive. It is why we work with them to sell mostly for our investment product like gold saving, etc. The last thing again with the technology company, we also need them because we realize that we are old company, we are enterprise. You know, it is a big gap between enterprise mindset and startup mindset. So basically, it is too long if we have to develop by ourselves. It is why we need help from the tech company to speed up the penetration of digital transformation. I think it is very important mindset, you know, because we don't need to develop by ourselves, but we can collaborate with whatever technology is already on the market. It is.
All right, thank you, Pak Teguh. The next person I'll ask the same question is Matam. So Matam, what is your view on this in terms of the collaboration, example of collaboration?
Sure, yeah. And maybe the best way to share that is just through a few examples from my experience with ULO in the last 5 years. So I think the first is something that we did in 2018. So we do truly care about financial inclusion as our sort of the mission that we're trying to aspire to. And we collaborated with UNCDF, which is United Nations Institute that looks at capital and credit disbursements globally. And we collaborated with them on a pilot in Indonesia to better understand how women micro entrepreneurs, sort of what kind of financing did they need and what were their specific requirements, right? So we collaborated with them for about a year. We dispersed about 500 loans or so to women in Indonesia that were starting businesses or wanted to start businesses, and we collaborated with them. We tracked how they were performing, and we helped them just to kind of get better understanding of how they were working. And we shared that experience with these UN agencies, both UNCDF globally, but also locally. UN Global Pulse Lab in Jakarta is an institute that does a lot with data as well in this space, and really trying to understand this particular segment for MSME needs. And actually, some of the outcomes were pretty interesting. I think it was proven that women, can be empowered to sort of run successful side businesses next to full-time jobs and commitments, and even next to taking care of their families, right? So there's I think a big opportunity there. And it's also actually proven that women actually invest more in their families and children and sort of increase economic well-being. So it aligns well with, socioeconomic mission that we're trying to aspire. So that's one example of a collaboration between, in this case, fintech and a sort of development unit globally. The second example, this is something that we did this year, is we started a partnership with Grab. So it's called Grab Modal, and one of the things that we're doing there is we're supporting Grab drivers and their delivery partners in their financing needs for example, for vehicle repairs or emergencies that they might have, or even drivers who would like to level up and start their own small businesses, right? So right now we target by the end of the year to do this with 100,000 Grab drivers, and this is an example of sort of a fintech player and a larger a startup, or a very large startup in this case. Next example is more between fintechs, right? So I think what's been very successful in the last year and a half is FDC, the Fintech Data Center, where different peer-to-peers companies in this case collaborate and share data, performance data of customers that make underwriting easier in this case. Because why should we all have to reinvent all the underwriting, and why don't we just benefit from collaborating in this space? I think that's been very successful. One maybe example that actually hasn't really materialized yet, but what I would love to see is also more collaboration on fraud prevention, for example. So and trying to mitigate that fraud by sharing how fraudsters operate and educating each other so that we don't need to make the same mistakes. I think together we stand much stronger there as fintech organizations. And then finally, sort of an example of collaboration between businesses and government. I think again, through knowledge sharing, data sharing, there's a lot of synergy that we can achieve there. And for example, identifying sort of high priority sectors and industries, or maybe marginalized industries that require specific support. I mean, we don't claim to have full oversight of what's happening in the market either. Maybe the government knows much better. So I think having that dialogue is really important to prioritize the right sectors, and maybe getting some support there also from government, so that we can help also the economy on a macro scale. And actually, we did something interesting last year, where we worked together with a couple of major Indonesian universities and Bank Indonesia to also try and understand on the island of Java what are sort of vulnerable areas, vulnerable households in this case. But I could see something similar happening in specific MSME segments and industries, right? So if we can map that out where those needs are, we can actually do a much better job as an industry together.
Okay, thank you, Martin, for this excellent answer. Next up is Mr. Jacoma again. So it's the same question. What are the examples of collaboration among bank, financial services, fintech, and MSME that can be done to leverage financial access? And then in your perspective, what is the government role in leveraging access to finance for MSME?
Okay, well, I think I've gone for a lot of that during my presentation, so I'm going to talk a little bit different, in terms of what I see the government can do. We have seen, with the financial brain model, actually the government's interaction with it can be a lot more. Some of the financial ecosystem that you can bring in by evaluating these people correctly, depending on the industry and the sector, you can start to create profile for VCs, for example, for investors, for different type of company to participate in the whole cycle. We talk about when you're energizing these new MSMEs, some of them, for example, startups. So banks, at what segment, in their whole journey towards become a large company or bank, when do they want to participate? JV, when do they want to participate? Government subsidies, when do they want to participate? And then the whole thing actually interact with the financial brain that I just mentioned, because all these data together can put together and monitor these companies and help these companies, and then publish informations for potential investment communities and so on and so forth. So we've seen that. And also, together with this financial brain model, it actually helped, using this information, started to predict macroeconomic indexes for particular areas as well, because you have a lot of activities about these people, about these sectors, and so on. So I think the government can use a lot of these and interact with this, help flourishing this, and so on. So I think there's multiple, I would say, roles that the government have in participating into this. And with more participation in there, I'm sure it will help us, the other three actors, a lot. So that will be my view on that, KY.
All right, yeah, thank you so much, Jacka, and thanks all the panelists, for sharing your expert knowledge and your opinion and your view on the MSME financing challenge and the ecosystem. And because we are really running out of time, so it's quite a robust one, and 1 hour and 40 minutes presentation and discussion. I will just basically summarize that. Thanks the participants for joining us in this event, and also to share your view and your questions as well. I know there's some question, but we probably will have to answer it offline or separately. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, for attending this session. over to you, Linda.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jacoma, for thank you, Mr. Kui Yonglok, for lead these discussions. Terima kasih banyak kepada Bapak dan Ibu yang telah hadir hingga acara hampir selesai kali ini. Kami mengingatkan kembali kepada Bapak, Ibu, dan rekan-rekan yang belum mengisi daftar hadir untuk mengisi daftar hadir yang sudah disediakan linknya dalam kolom chat. Dan jangan lupa kepada Bapak, Ibu, pada pukul 14 nanti atau 2 siang waktu Indonesia Barat akan ada acara dengan topik pemanfaatan teknologi digital dalam meningkatkan perlindungan konsumen. Bapak, Ibu, dan rekan-rekan sekalian, dalam bulan Fintech Nasional ini, Aftek bekerja sama dengan para anggota dan para regulator akan membahas topik-topik menarik seperti pemanfaatan fintech, literasi keuangan digital, perlindungan konsumen, dan lainnya. Bulan Fintech ini sudah berlangsung sejak tanggal 11 November 2021 dan akan selesai pada tanggal 12 Desember 2021. Dan bulan Fintech ini akan ditutup melalui Indonesia Fintech Summit 2021 pada tanggal 11 dan 12 Desember yang akan dilaksanakan secara hybrid, yaitu offline di Bali dan online melalui channel-channel virtual Bank Indonesia, OJK, dan Aftek. Silahkan kunjungi website www.fintechsummit.co.id serta Instagram kami Fintech ID untuk mengetahui beberapa kegiatan-kegiatan menarik selama bulan Fintech Nasional 2021. Atas nama panitia penyelenggara, kami mengucapkan banyak terima kasih kepada Tong Dun yang telah mendukung acara pada siang hari ini, dan terima kasih kepada seluruh speakers, moderator, dan Bapak, Ibu, serta rekan-rekan yang telah mengikuti acara hingga selesai. Mohon maaf apabila ada kekurangan. Salam sehat dan sukses selalu untuk kita semua. Sampai jumpa. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdun FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdun monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time. Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdun provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdun FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdun monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time.